John Carter risked everything to rescue his wife, Princess Deja Thoris, from the clutches of his evil adversaries, but he is always just one step behind. His battles cover the face of the Red Planet, as his quest carries him ultimately to the mysterious Northern Pole. Will this civilization submerged in ice prove fatal to our hero? Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I'm your host, Liam, aka Hemvar. Today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of Edgar Rice Burroughs' The Warlord of Mars. The Warlord of Mars is book 3 in the Barsoom series and a sort of conclusion to the John Carter, what I would call trilogy, as the next several books, actually, John Carter is not the main character, though he does appear as a main character later on again in the series. And this does conclude the story that was started, kind of started in book 1, but really started in Gods of Mars book 2. I have done reviews for both of those, but just to continue on with Warlord of Mars, this was written in 1913 and serialized later that year and in 1914 before being compiled into a novel in 1919. So it is over 100 years old. This takes place 6 months after the Gods of Mars, and Deja Thoris is missing, along with her father and grandfather. Deja, in particular, was imprisoned in a room only accessible once in a Barsoomian year. John Carter, her husband, John Carter is attempting to rescue her, of course. Now, the Therns and the religion of Isis have been defeated, essentially, but as each book has introduced new races of Barsoomians, this one is no different. I will not spoil what that race is this time, but John Carter really thinks that he can get to Deja Thoris before that door is supposed to open, and his ventures here are, in my opinion, more fun than the second book. I've heard some people say that the second book is the best one. I like this one more than the second book, and I think part of the reason is just more brief. I like books that are shorter when they can be shorter, and I thought The Gods of Mars personally was slightly longer than it needed to be, and I don't think that is a problem at all with The Warlord of Mars. And so again, it has a pretty good ending, I would say. It's not a cliffhanger like book 2 was, and sort of like book 1 was. It focuses on romance a lot. Again, this is Sword and Planet, but it's, I think, the better. I think that the label of Sword and Planet works perfectly fine here, because this is awesome planetary stuff, like fantasy, like stuff going on. But planetary romance is a big name for it as well, and that makes sense because this is really focused on the romance. And of course, though, our character, our hero, John Carter, is basically a Mary Sue. But he's just such a good one. I just really like reading these stories of his adventures, and his exploits. It's really fun in a nice pulpy way. But I don't think I would like it as much if it was written today, for example. I think it helps a lot knowing that it's over a century old, at least for me personally. Which isn't to say I wouldn't read pulp today, because I still do. And I mean, like, newer pulp too. But overall, I did really enjoy this one. Since it is the end of a trilogy, I do kind of feel like I've completed Barsoom to an extent. I do plan on getting to book 4 through via Maid of Mars, I think is what it's called. I have a copy, but it's actually not one that matches my other set, because they sent me the wrong copy when I ordered it. But anyways, I will probably get to that eventually. But if anyone has read Elise's first 3, let me know what you think. Let me know which one is your favorite of the batch. I'm not quite sure, but it'd be definitely between A Princess of Mars and The Warlord of Mars. Definitely a fun romp. And if you are wanting to get into more really old fantasy or old sci-fi, this is a good one to get into. This is part of that sci-fi group that is kind of ignored by a lot of sci-fi enthusiasts, and has been kind of ignored by the sci-fi scene basically since the golden age, since they don't like to they often like to act like this pulpy scene beforehand, before the Golden Age, didn't really exist. But it did. So really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. So just some Weems Lyceum. I'll catch you next time.